So, Sonic Frontiers. What a wild ride this game has been. From the leaks to the trailers to release. I think I can say we've all been through a roller coaster of emotions, thoughts, and so much more. So pretty much the course for every Sonic game at this point, especially during its first reveal, when we finally saw the leaks come true and it became the very first open world Sonic game. We were all in shock. All kinds of thoughts were going all over the place. We didn't really know what to make of it. Then the very first gameplay arrived later in 2022 in June. And to say that it basically nosedived, the excitement there was just, yeah, definitely so. But after what I can only describe as a miracle, and hard work of course, the Sonic social media team managed to save Sonic Frontiers' reputation and make a full comeback. We were all excited again. Some not so much, but it was definitely swaying in that direction. And we just had to wait a few more weeks. Would it be a disaster like Colors Ultimate or Origins? Or would it just be mediocre even after all the excitement that was built? Well, time to find out. Open world. Never thought it would be tackled like ever, and fan games would be the only ones attempting it. But when you really think about it, it makes so much sense, and it's a little bit baffling why they haven't tried it until now. Sonic, since he's a speedy guy, would work so well traversing an open world. Just exploring the environments with his moveset has always been something I've thought about, but kind of gave up on because I just never thought Sonic Team would actually do it. But they have! And while not the biggest open world ever, it's not unnecessarily big like a lot of Ubisoft games. It's more like a Super Mario Odyssey kind of big, you know, just right for Sonic. Sonic Team has always put little details into their environments that players easily miss because of the type of gameplay that was present in the other games, especially with the boost. Here, have a look.
To further give the idea that this was not a human world, alien writing was added to the backgrounds rather than any recognizable alphabet or symbols. Miura jokingly lamented that players would miss some of these details as they sped past.
And that's always why I thought about having an open world Sonic game. So with that being said, I can finally say with full confidence, not only will our team's details not be missed this time around, but that the open world environment is so fun to explore and to just run around in. And that's an accomplishment, because that was one of my biggest fears coming into this game. Not only that, for the few of you that remember, I had mentioned that I believe and wanted the activities in the open world to really matter, and to test the player's skill and to just be fun. Not the Ubisoft kind, but the Breath of the Wild kind, and the like. I'm super happy to say that they've accomplished this with flying colors. Most of the activities use Sonic's abilities in order to make interesting challenges for the player that are just fun to complete. Speaking of abilities, since this carries the boost formula's DNA, it has a lot of the same moves. Stomp, air boost, slide, double jump, light dash, and even some returning ones like the bounce breaker from SA2 and the drop dash from Mania. Not just that, Sonic can actually throw hands in this game. So of course, there's combos and different moves as well. Super quick on this, since they have so many moves and buttons they need to map, pretty much the whole controller is in use here. Some having weird button placements, like the boost button being on the triggers instead of the X button like it usually is, and some of them even revert back to Unleash style controls, like the homing attack being on the X button again. It's a little bit weird to get used to again, or just to get used to this control scheme at all, but it at least can be changed in the settings, and I got used to it pretty quick, so it's not that big of a deal. Now as for the combat, before I get any deeper, I do have to say, for as much fun as I had, it was still a little bit jank sometimes, especially when it came to switching from his regular controls to his combat mode, essentially, as I like to call it. I hope that can be improved in the future though, but in its current form, it's alright. I still like fighting things of course, but like a lot of things in this game, it can still be a little bit jank sometimes. Now, back to the combat. You got ranged, close-up, and overall just flashy, cool-looking moves. So you're definitely not going to be out of options when tackling enemies, which you can also just avoid if you want to. Since they made it open world, you can just keep on going if you want to. I do wish there was a little more variety with them though. There is a lot of them, and there is like some variety, especially when you keep moving islands. But legit, once you get to Chaos Island, you've pretty much seen most of the enemies that you'll face. You do get some new ones in the last island, but most of the ones you'll see are like repeated ones, like the pillars, or like the sticks as one of my friends likes to call them, the small brutes, and the ninjas, but they'll be a little more spiced up, quote unquote, even though they're still easy to take down. Like if you go back to the other islands, they don't really scale up with your skill level or just level in the game. They stay pretty much the same. In simple terms, if you take these guys in Chronos, and they're pretty tough at the beginning, like they're pretty decently challenging. You keep going on in the game and you face more challenging ones, especially on the last island, and then you come back, the tougher ones will only be on that last island. So you're basically going to slaughter these guys in one hit. So I do wish that the challenge carried over to all islands once you reach a certain level in the game. And this is coming from a guy who chose the hard mode in the game. You can kind of circumvent this by not leveling yourself up, kind of, but I just wish the game would challenge you a little bit more though, especially near the end. Speaking of enemies, I would have loved to have fought the bosses again after you defeat them. And while it is possible through mods like on the PC version, I would have loved that as like an option like every other game does, especially like even past Sonic games. We don't even have to leave the franchise, and that's why it's weird. I think a boss rush mode would have at least circumvented this, I guess, like one after the other, instead of like having to restart the entire game and just, I don't know. I think that's something they could add in the future. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, but it just found a little bit weird that they wouldn't let you replay the bosses, especially now when they're just By the way, I'm gonna take a quick second to gush about how much I love these bosses. So throughout the island's exploration, you get glimpses and build up to the boss fights, especially with the first one. I can't state the impact it had when I first got a look of it, and it took out Sonic cold. And once we build up our collection of Chaos Emeralds, we finally get that satisfaction of kicking the giant robots. And I think this is one of the most accurate portrayals of Supersonic's real power. We're fighting this giant robot, and before, when you were just regular Sonic, you weren't doing any damage to it. It was just standing there menacingly. Now, as Super Sonic, you can see it bending and twisting and just getting thrown to the ground by the force of Supersonic's punches and kicks. And I can't tell you how happy and hype I was out of my mind as I was seeing this all happen and just connecting it together and just blah. These only go up from here, but that first Titan will always be living rent-free in my head. It just left such an impact on me, and I'll never forget that feeling where I legitimately let out a yeah and proceeded to kick it into the ground. Let's go! Woo! Yes! Let's get this. They also don't really hold your hand too much. The tutorial area does to an extent, but it's a tutorial area, so it's justified. And if you ever need a refresher on how to pull certain moves off, the game has a pause menu for them, and you can also just go into a simulation area and execute them. Just, I think, fun really describes the game here. Even with my complaints about the enemies and stuff, the game is just still so fun to play. It just has a good foundation, and that even extends to the controls. Not only can you customize them to what you want them to be, except in cyberspace, but the default is legit one of the best controlling Sonics in a long time. I'd say the gold standard for control was Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure 1. And over time, he did become stiffer, especially in Forces. But here, legit the first thing I did was to see if he could do a full 360 degrees, which is something he can't do in other games, not even in Generations. But the smile on my face when he was able to do it, even while boosting to a certain extent, was just, I've been waiting for so long for him to control this good. And even while having the super powerful boost, Sonic still feels controllable and nice to just control. I really hope they carry this over to the next game, and just improve it from there. But I'd be totally fine if they just keep these controls. Now, sadly, the same can be said about cyberspace. I don't know what happened here, but these controls are some of the worst Sonic has ever had. The boost doesn't nearly feel as powerful as it should. Only when you press the button and you get the startup, eventually he just slows down again, to the point where he barely makes a difference between running slowly and just running. Eventually he just slows down again. It just doesn't feel like you're boosting. You can't make precise platforming either because his momentum just stops. Dead on. And he's slippery also. It's so weird. Like, these controls are so weird. I don't know why they didn't just carry over the controls from the open zones, because those are already good on their own and they carry speed and momentum when jumping, something that would actually benefit the platforming in cyberspace. It's just a little baffling. Now, the actual levels themselves range from 2D to good, and that's mostly because they lift level designs from other Sonic games, which I think is fine and is explained in the game, but I think they should have gone a little bit further with this. Like, since they're already mixing and matching level designs and themes, why not go even crazier? Like, have themes from Colors, Unleashed, SA2, and use the level designs across those games, really expanding the idea. But instead we get 4 repeated themes across the game: Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and the new highway level, which is by far the coolest one out of all of them. I'm just so tired of seeing Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary. I would love if they just stop using these levels. Like, I know they're a part of Sonic's identity. I know they're the most recognizable parts of Sonic, and to an extent he does still need those, but just have it as a little callback or something, because at this point it's so tired. I'm just so tired of seeing Green Hill over and over and over as a crutch. The new highway level looks so cool. It's so visually interesting compared to like what Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary are doing. It's miles apart, and I just wish they did more stuff like that. But yeah, sadly, it's one of the weaker parts of the game by far. But I'd say it's pretty much the only thing that's really that weak and could be considered holding the game back. The game really makes excellent strides at trying new things, and I just wish these things could be a little bit better, but I'm still fine and happy with what we got. There's even fishing in this game, which of course has Big the Cat in it. He doesn't know how he got in there, but he's there.
Pig, what are you doing here? How did you get here? What even is here?
I don't know. I was looking for fishing spots and wound up here. So now I'm fishing.
Of course you are.
But I'm the happiest person because of it. It's pretty much a simple minigame though, just pressing A or X depending on the controller you use at the right time to reel it in, but it's legitimately a good way to wind down from the open world chaos, or even just winding down normally from stress, because they even made chill lo-fi music for it, and all of this combined along with the chill attitude, like, it basically kind of matches Big's aesthetic, I guess, just chilling out and fishing. It actually helped me wind down from a stressful situation I had at the time, and yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite parts in the game. Like, I love the fishing minigame along with like the rest of the game. I'm definitely spending most of my time here, even if it doesn't net me any rewards because I already fished them out. It's still just such a nice time that throw a rod in and just pull something out, whether that be a tire or a fish. It's nice. I just wish there could be like a shortcut to it in the menu instead of having to run to it in the open world, but I think that can be added later along with like a lot of other things if they ever decide to. One big missed opportunity though was having the Coco like in a Chow garden sort of thing. I'm aware they just refused to bring the Chow back properly.
What's the most common request you get from fans?
Chow garden?
Is there a Chow garden in this game?
No.
But this would have been a great compromise, and one I think they can still do with DLC in the future. Like, they're adding a Monster Hunter DLC costume, which already came out by the time I'm recording this, and a cooking mini game, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Another thing I was kind of hoping to be different was when I was tackling the Chaos Emeralds, those required keys that you retrieve from cyberspace. Now, you don't actually have to obtain all of them this way. Like 2 or 3 Chaos Emeralds will be behind completing certain objectives with Sonic's friends and the Cocos, and that's where you get some of the cutscenes too. Now, where my deal comes in is that since they had mentioned that cyberspace was optional, well, it actually isn't. It's actually required, like I said, especially later on the last few islands. You definitely need to take a majority of the cyberspace levels seriously and get most of the keys that you can. Otherwise, you're never gonna get a Chaos Emerald. So what I would have liked to have seen and was kind of expecting as I was playing the game was to have seen like 3 options. One where you tackle all the objectives important to the story with Sonic's Buddios and the Cocos, and that's where you get the story, but you can still get the Chaos Emeralds that way without ever touching cyberspace. One where you just do cyberspace only and can avoid the Coco missions essentially, and one where you can do a mix of both like there is in the actual game. Since it was open zone, I kind of thought it would be tackled this way. This is totally something they could tackle in the sequel. Also, the pinball minigame can suck my This game just looks so beautiful, and while I did start off not liking how it looks, I'm so glad I made a turnaround and was able to appreciate its true beauty. I'm a sucker for just gorgeous environments, and with decaying infrastructure and just natural environments that look stupendous to run around in, this fits right up my alley. Even if it does get a little bit samey towards the end, but it does manage to stay varied, even with the repeated themes. They just went sicko mode here, especially with the details and just immersive environments. Like I had said in the previous segment, Sonic Team was able to take advantage that people could just literally stop and smell the roses now, instead of being encouraged to keep moving forward and just tunnel vision it. Not only that, the music goes nutty too. Each island has different phases, the start of which is kind of depressing and melancholy, really making you feel alone and up against major odds. Over time though, the island's music starts to pick up and get more hopeful and triumphant. and it runs parallel to Sonic finding the last Chaos Emerald. Otani stated that he never really gets the chance to make more ambient tracks for Sonic games, this being the exception of course, and you can tell he did not slack off here. This is some amazing work from him, and just the music all around is just amazing. They went so hard on the music, not only through vocal tracks but just the ambient tracks as well. Like everything works together here to make this package just unique and just push it up more than it would have just normally on its own. And oh boy, don't even get me started on the boss music. It's just, oh yes, chef's kiss. Each one of them is performed by different artists slash bands. My favorite being Undefeatable, which I played previously, but close second is Find Your Flame from Chaos Island. The voice acting is also superb. Everyone gave me whiplash with how well they were able to adapt to the more melancholy mood, and really demonstrates that not only can they do this, but if everyone was doubting that they're amazing voice actors, you got this right here as proof.
Sonic, am I a burden to you?
Wow, and how did you come to this well-thought-out concern?
Whenever there's a crisis, I'm either running away or standing on the sidelines. You're always rescuing me when all I do is follow you around.
Hey, who was it who stopped Eggman from blowing up Station Square, huh? And who broke me out of prison, or saved me from the Deadly Six's trap?
Then I'm wildly inconsistent.
Dude, relax. You've got brains like Eggman, speed like me, and can fly with your butt. It's okay if you still need help sometimes. That's just part of growing up.
When did you get to be so insightful?
I have my moments.
The most surprising and odd one at the same time was really Sonic himself. Not that it's bad or anything, I really do like this interpretation of Sonic a lot. Especially over his past iterations, as in Roger's past iterations, not every other Sonic. I just got a mental whiplash because I was just used to his upbeat, cocky self from like Colors, Generations, Forces even, and just had a hard time shaking that off. But I'm glad I did because this is by far the best Roger Sonic has ever sounded, and I genuinely mean that. With the small inflections in his voice to show like minor emotions and just show emotion period, other than just happy I guess, and him just sounding more relaxed and just seeming like an actual dynamic character. I sincerely appreciate what he did here. This feels like a Sonic that truly cares about his friends and the situation around him, not just blindly optimistic because, oh, I'm a Sonic character. It doesn't sound forced or anything like that. Now, there were some moments where he did kind of sound a bit stuffy, I guess.
I'm working on it, okay? Care to explain how saving my friends is a bad thing?
Almost like he sounded like he needed to blow his nose or something. But for the most part, just like everybody else, they did their best work since Boom. And this just makes me so happy that it's not only possible for them to sound this good, but just actually having it. Lastly, the animation. And dude, I can finally say that they've remembered Sonic can emote. After all this time, they remembered and he actually looks so good. The best he's ever been animated in decades. He has never been this expressive. It first sort of started like in Forces, but they never really took it to its full potential there. But here, even his ears react to when he gets sad, or when he's happy, or when he's moving his face. It's incredible. There are moments where Sonic just doesn't animate as well as in other cutscenes in the game. When he does, it's just so nice, and I'm just eating it up, man. My hope is that they continue to improve on this and really make him emote as much as he possibly can, because they've proven that this model can indeed emote in the hands of capable people. Not even mentioning that these are in-game cutscenes, not even CGI. In-game, so it just makes this achievement even greater. The story feels like a band-aid to the stories that came before, and also wanting to bring everything together. Everything and everyone together. Whether you're Boom, Unleashed, Heroes, it just wants to unite everyone and embrace what made Sonic special. Everything just matters now more than they ever have. Whether it's the smallest little thing or something huge, it matters. You don't feel left out. Sonic always stood out to me because of its lore, story, and characters. They would just evolve and change, and it mattered. Unlike a bunch of other franchises that would just brush off the fact that it could have a deeper meaning, Sonic embraced it and shined. That's why I love it so much. It opened my eyes to things and helped me become who I am, which is why when I saw his character getting run down to the point where it just became a parody of him, it hurt. It was like seeing your role model just lose his way. The story also took a beating to where things would just happen, and once the game was done, it just ceased to exist. It happened, but it would never get mentioned again. Almost like it was wiped, or it was an embarrassing stain or something like that. So to see that they're acknowledging it and just using it in a way where characters were affected by them, not gonna lie, it kind of made me share some man tears, not gonna lie.
Ages ago, my people were wiped out by a cataclysm. I know the Coco faced something similar. It reminds me I'm the last Echidna, that I'm alone.
You may be the last, but you're not alone. You've got us, Knucklehead.
I'll admit, I do envy your lifestyle. Freedom to go where you want, when you want.
So do it. Get out there and live a little.
Maybe I could. But first, I need to be back to normal. So hurry up and get me back to normal.
Anything to get you away from me.
I think that one touched me more than Amy. Like, I was like, now I lost it. Oh god, that's my Sonic. That's my Sonic. That's Knuckles. That's the guy I grew up with. That's the guy I always wanted to be. The damn brook. Woo! Literally, this is the guy. This is the guy that I've always looked up to. Like the guy I always, you know. Sorry if my voice is all cracky. Damn. This is the guy who inspired me to do better. The guy who wanted me to, like, you know, inspire me to help my friends, like, through anything. I can't really state how good this story feels to experience. Before, it kind of felt like, okay, just get to A to B and go through the motions. There was only a few games that I felt really made me want to see the story, but here, it feels like what Forces was aiming to do, or trying to tell a more mature story, but it didn't go over the top. This still feels like Sonic, and it still feels genuine, and that they wanted to tell something meaningful. Like, they finally have a grasp on what they were trying to do. Everyone here feels like themselves again. Like, truly. They feel like they have depth and care for one another. I think the most that benefited from this upgrade and care in the writing was Sonic himself. He sort of became downgraded over time, from a dude who loves adventure and does things his own way to someone that was just a dick, pretty much, and didn't seem to care what the consequences were from his actions and how it affected people around him. He didn't seem like he cared about his friends. He really wasn't the guy who I grew up to see. Sonic in the past was somebody who cared for the less abled and would stop whatever he was doing to help out. He was somebody who really set aside his differences if it meant gaining another ally rather than an enemy, even if the odds seemed impossible. That's him here. Even as he's facing impossible odds and the environment is bringing others down, he's always there to bring the light back into people and push them in the right direction. You can really see that when he interacts with Sage. He knows there's something more to her. Like, he doesn't get that vibes from her. Like, she's just going in the wrong direction or just needs guidance. No matter what she does to him, he always wants to help her. So when the turnaround finally does happen, it just feels so earned and satisfying that I just get a sense of accomplishment and like completion and hope. And that's oddly the theme this time around. Despite the gloomy atmosphere and everybody seeming going through something, they always manage to find hope and closure and a reason to keep going. And while it may hit differently to others, this was really something I needed to hear. Every time Sonic would inspire his friends to look inwards towards their accomplishments as well as their failures, he would always manage to bring them up and to get them to do something different and to look towards improving themselves as well as just reflect on who they are and being happy for who they are and will be. This is Sonic. After seeing Sonic stumble for so long, just seeing this happen on screen kind of brought me peace. It gave me a reason to keep pushing forward with this franchise, not giving up on Sonic. This is Sonic. This has always been Sonic, not this cocky douche in Sonic Lost World. Like, sure, he may have his moments of being an asshat or dumb, but in the end, he'll always try his hardest to save people and keep moving. This is the Sonic I grew up to be inspired by, to love. I just kept flashing back to Unleashed when he has this talk with Chip. He was strong on the inside. That's why he was able to stay as himself while being infused with Dark Gaia's influence, while other people just fell to the darkness. As Chip would say,
I haven't done anything, Sonic. You're the reason you haven't changed at all. You're too strong to lose yourself.
I'm the reason?
Yeah, you never doubt yourself, no matter what. You never give in to the night or the darkness inside your heart. I think it's because I knew that about you. That's why I wanted you to help me. It's been so fun, getting to see the world. I've lived here since the planet began, but I didn't know a thing about it. That it's so pretty, or that food tastes so good, or that people are so nice. I'm so glad I got the chance to discover all that with you, and I'm so glad that you helped me find my memory. Sonic, I will never, ever forget you. Thank you, Sonic. Goodbye, friend.
Hey!
Whoa, what?
Where do you think you're off to all by yourself?
What? But my memory is back now, and, well, from here on out, it's my responsibility, so, I mean, there's no reason for you to come along, so I should just...
Do I need a reason to want to help out a friend?
Thanks, Sonic.
that's my Sonic. And I'm glad he's here. I'm glad everyone is. Things matter again. That means so much to me. More than whatever I could express on the outside. The only weak part of the story that I kind of thought lost a little bit was when it just becomes Amphibia. It has the villain and it has a great build up to it too. But once you get there, you just see this giant planet. It does mention that it can take multiple forms, and this is the form it took to basically end Earth. But I kind of would have liked to see something more godlike, because it kind of was building up to that kind of energy to it. He has fought gods before, and this is something apparently greater than a god, so I would have liked to have seen something a little more representative of that instead of just a bland planet. But that's alright. I think they can fix this. If they ever do DLC or an update or something like that, maybe they can add like a little bit of a story thing or something like that to make up for it, but it's okay. I think it still hits what like it's supposed to. Everything else is just so nice, and I couldn't be happier with it. I feel like we shouldn't have this game. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but it just feels weird having a really, really, truly good Sonic game in my hands. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm glad this ended up being like one of the best, but it just feels so weird after a string of basically the stuff that came before. It just feels like a genuine effort to evolve the series and push it forward while putting in effort and love into every inch of the game. It feels like they really cared about the game and wanted it to be the best it could be. Like, sure, it may have its problems, like no game is truly perfect, but I really feel a sigh of relief just having this in my hands, knowing it's good and that Sonic is in good standing for the first time in a long time. So let's all do it. And I wanted to appear here like Just wanted to thank my friends pushing me to keep believing in Sonic, to not give up. They helped me stay grounded and basically not lose myself to cynicism and just becoming an angry Sonic fan, jaded by the past. They helped me not forget who I am, and I could never be more thankful. They reminded me of why I love Sonic so much and that I should give this game a chance. And I am so happy I'm on this timeline. So yeah, just thank all of you that helped me stay as myself. I really appreciate it. And I guess this is how I feel about this game. It may feel weird to have a genuinely good Sonic game for the first time in ages. They have a solid foundation to just go up from here. I'm so happy this game exists, and now I can look forward onwards with a ray of hope and knowing that Sonic is truly back up on his feet, and just knowing that I'm healing, truly healing from the past, and that I can still enjoy Sonic for what he is and he stands for. He's back, and I just can't wait to see what's next.